So into the charts we go. We see a little bit of a down day on Bitcoin today, reversing the upside that we saw yesterday. Remember in yesterday's video, folks, I said don't trust it when it comes on a weekend. And again, this is a lesson that we all have to remind ourselves. I've seen so many people, like a little uptick on the weekend, get so excited about Bitcoin, and then it reverses on Monday when the other markets reopen. And again, that's because the dollar has a huge say in Bitcoin's price action, the yields have a huge say, and even risk assets like the stock market have a huge say in Bitcoin's action. Now, eventually, do I think that changes? Yeah, I think eventually Bitcoin kind of trades, oblivious to the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ. Obviously, the dollar will have some implications on it going forward, but I think that is a great lesson. Look at the chart here. Here was yesterday's price action to the upside. Here's today's downside. Essentially, we've negated yesterday's up move. All right. Now, what could we be forming here? It's very preliminary, but there might be a bearish pattern starting to form here. We have to wait, obviously, as this is a very immature pattern. Really, when you look at patterns, the ones that you trust the most are going to be the mature patterns. And this is not a mature pattern yet, so it's not really trustworthy yet, but it's just something we want to keep our eye on. Now, if it starts to roll over at some point, your target is going to be the blue trend line. Obviously, we have a beautiful channel here, right? From the highs here, parallel channel with the lows. So that gives us a very obvious downside short-term support of around 22,300. Now, like I said, if that one breaks, that's where problematic issues arise for Bitcoin. Sure, you'll have a little support at this low. That's going to be an obvious minor support level. But I really do believe if we break this channel, the bigger move starts to take place that takes us down to about the 18,000 level. Probably 18.2 is a good target range. And again, that's a confluence of two trend lines, the upsloping trend line here and the flat trend line right here. Okay, so that's short-term downside. Supports, if we look at resistance, we know that the 25 and change level continues to be resistance up here. Should that break, the obvious target is the 30,000 level right up here. All right, let's take a look at Ethereum here, see what Ethereum is doing. Ethereum, again, is reversing to the downside. Not as much quite as Bitcoin. It has reversed some of it. Maybe about half of the move to the upside yesterday has reversed. Again, same thing, just basically continue to watch this trend line. If that breaks, we retest this low, and if that breaks, we come down to that low 1,300 level. Upside resistance remains all up here, and especially with this pivot top, notice how the yellow line is now coming into play here. If we extend this blue line out, they're basically one and the same. That means that is an epically big level of resistance. So if we do come into that level, you should expect it to be a major level of resistance on the chart. Okay, so again, right now, I would say just watch Ethereum. Let's see what happens here. Watch for a break of this line. If so, then it goes here. And if not, it could trade inside of this channel for the next few days or so until eventually that downward move does come in. And I do expect that downward move to come in, folks. To me, it's not really a question of if, it's a matter of when. And I continue to look in that direction, thus being short Ethereum, Solana, Avalanche, etc. Speaking of Avalanche, let's take a quick look. Love the little downward move here. I'm looking for a break of this support, which will then take us to our next level on Avalanche, which will be around the $14 level. Again, yes, this is still a lot of support. Again, you have two trend lines converging, so there is going to be a lot of support here. So it might take a little bit of time to get through there, but still you have a possible M top here. That again would be bearish. Completion of the M would be here, then a bounce back to there. I mean, think about, you talk about probabilities, right? And so right now you have essentially an M side here, the down here, down up here, right? So there's your M top. Then if you move down here, now imagine we break there and we go here. Now you have a completion of the M, which then means you could buy this level. And where does it likely go? It completes the A by going back to the middle of the M, which also happens to be these trend lines right here. All right, so again, this is the beauty of swing trading, is that, you don't have to be just a bull or a bear. You trade it. You trade it. You honestly don't really care which way it goes as long as it gives you volatility. And as long as it gives you volatility, you'll get overbought at one point where you can short it and oversold at one point where you can buy it. And you just play. I always tell people, basically play pinball or ping pong, right? You're just hitting the ball one way, then you hit it the other way, and you back and forth. And ultimately, by using the charts, you put yourself in an advantage to be able to maximize money versus the buy and hold, right? Again, if we talk about buy and hold, you could talk about being, greatest example of buy and hold would be if you just shorted, let's just say you shorted up here. Let's just say you shorted up here and you're holding. So you short here, yes, you're in the money, but we already took our short off the table down here. Then we reshorted here, and now we're basically doubling up what a buy and holder in that type of trading scenario gets. All right, or you could just take the other angle of the coin and say, hey, listen, let's just say someone bought and hold here. Well, they were in the money a massive amount, and now they're negative on the trade, right? So it's really, to me, that's why I don't like buy and hold. I don't like leaving it up to the market's whim for bull and bear markets. When things get ridiculously overbought, I want to sell and then short, and when things get ridiculously oversold, I want to buy and get long. All right, so again, we're in the money nicely on that trade, and again, let's look at Solana here. Solana coming back in as well after the weekend little bounce. I'm still looking for a target of around $20 as a near-term support, and then ultimately a break below that down towards $17.70 or so. So again, I'm going to keep an eye on that, just kind of take it one step at a time, and I'll see if there is anything that pops up, but right now that's really about it. Now, if we take a look at Matic, let's keep our eye on that one. We did take the money off the table on the short on this. You do have support here, but again, notice how we're retracing back into that yellow trend line. We just hit that yellow trend line here. So again, here you hit it. You had a big bounce. You went away from the line for a while, and you got very, very high. You come back in. That's going to be major support. You get the bounce. Now you're coming into it again. Is that major or minor support? And the answer is it's minor support now because you just hit it, and you really didn't go away from it for more than a couple days. We're now hammering on that line again. So this line is now vulnerable to a break. By the way, vulnerable to a break doesn't mean it's going to break. Essentially, vulnerable to a break means it's more close to the 50-50 line. It could break. It may not. It might get a bounce, it may not. But again, in terms of trading, you don't want to be taking 50-50 trades, right? 50% odds. Like, if you want to do that, I always tell people, like, dude, go to the casino. Go to the casino. If you play by the book blackjack, you're almost at 50-50. Plus, they give you free drinks. You get to hang out with your friends. You'll get to drink. You get to have a good time. It's a lot more fun than trying to trade behind your desk in your home in your pajamas, right? I mean, not that that's bad, but obviously you might as well go have some fun with friends if you're going to get odds of 50-50. You almost walk into the casino, and this is how I am. I do gamble from time to time, very rarely. But I go in and I'm like, all right, listen, I'm going with my friends to have a good time. I'm not going to win money. I don't expect to win money, right? When you go to the casino, you don't expect to win money. If it happens, great. It's probably a 1 in 10 shot that I'll walk out of there with money, to be honest. That's just the nature of it. But the bottom line is, when I trade, I expect to make money. Doesn't mean I will always make money, but I'm going in knowing that the odds based on what I'm doing are in my favor, and that's super, super important to remember. All right, let's go through a couple of these other charts here. We can look at Cardano real quick. Cardano pulling back. Again, minor supported that yellow trend line as you just pierced it a couple days ago. So same kind of thing there. We'll watch and see if that breaks lower. Obviously, your next level would be around $32.50 as support. Excuse me, 32 cents, 32.5 cents, not $32. That would be nice for anyone holding Cardano on the long side. Okay, let me see what else we have here on the radar. Polkadot real quick. And again, we had Polkadot for a while. We are out of it now. And again, talk about couldn't get much of a better exit strategy on that. I didn't take a big gain on it. And I think that's important to remember. Always remember the methodology. The methodology states that sometimes a small gain is a huge win. And then sometimes a small loss is a win. And the concept behind that is very simple, is that, you know, when you're holding Polkadot down here and it kind of goes down on you and you're down 30-40% and then it comes back in the money and you take 5% gain, you have to look at that as a major win. Not because the money you made is massive, but because if you look at this, right, you always have to look at from where it's come. And in this case, when you have it down here and it was at support and it runs up literally, almost 100%, that's a no-brainer exit. Right? And always ask yourself this question. This is the one question you always ask yourself. If I was in at the lows on this chart, would I be unloading it up here? And the answer is yes. All right, again, absolutely. At least you should be. Right? You'd say, oh man, I'm up 100% or I'm up 80% or 90%. You're not going to be like, no, let me get 105%, or at least hopefully you don't. You'd say, yeah, that's a great gain. Check out. You know, be out of it. Exit. Take the profits and run. So if you're saying that to yourself because you were in here, well, then technically you should be saying that to yourself here, even if you're only up 5% or whatever, right? So, I mean, that's the mentality of a pro, is that it's not about how much you make on a trade. It's not about always winning on every trade. It's about if you're in a position and it runs and it goes against you and then it comes back, you have to ask yourself, from the lows, would I be taking profits here based on the chart? And if the answer is yes, then you take it. It's just absolutely do. All right. I'm not going to keep you guys much longer today. Again, a little bit of a downtick in the crypto markets, but again, some good lessons in this video. I always try to convey my good lessons to you guys. My literally 2+ decades now of what I've had to learn the hard way. I always hope that by some means it helps you guys avoid a little bit of the hardships that I went through. Again, we always keep learning. We're never king of the castle, essentially. We're always kind of being humble, and we have to remember that the markets can teach us a lesson at any point, and it's up to us to learn those lessons as fast as possible. You guys have a good one. Take care.